3, 2, 1.
Counting it in. Hey guys, I'm Michael Symon here. We are the 4th day of cooking out of my new book, Fix It With Food, Every Meal Easy. Today we are making cauliflower soup with mushroom and kale. This is part of the reset and is on page 62 if you're following along at home. So I'm going to answer some of the questions that have come up through the first couple days of cooking. I'm sure you guys will have plenty more as we go. This is the second Fix It With Food book. It's 130 new recipes. So a lot of people are like, is it different from the first? 130 new recipes. A couple things additions that we have in this book that we thought would help a little bit is we made the recipes in the reset, the first 10 days of the reset for one person. Obviously you could double, triple them, whatever. And the recipes throughout the book are for 2, but they're easy to make larger. I always feel that it's easier to batch up a recipe than batch down. For instance, today we are making cauliflower soup, which is in the reset for 1. I'm gonna make a bigger batch for 2 or 3 because Katie, Alexa, and I are gonna eat afterwards. Another fun thing that we did in the book is we listed the big 30, a lot of the foods that help with inflammation. Again, Fix It With Food is an anti-inflammatory style of eating book. And then because when we were doing Symon's dinners during the pandemic, there were so many people that wanted to know about substitutions. So in the book, we put, if it's like all the master substitution list.
And this is page 11.
Page 11, you guys could get in close in there. So like if it says milk, you could, and you can't have cow, you could have oat milk, soy milk, almond milk, cashew milk, coconut milk, So there's really easy substitutions in there that will make sense within the recipe. That way, if you're like, oh, can I substitute this for that? You can. And the reality of it is, guys, we're teaching you how to make the recipe, the technique, and then you could make it fit your palate. Like I'm putting jalapenos in my cauliflower soup today. I like things spicy. If you don't like things spicy, take out the jalapeno, it's fine. There are ingredients that are in certain dishes for health benefits, so you may not get the full health benefits when you're pulling something out, but if it's a flavor that you just disdain, eliminate the flavor. People go, I hate cumin. Well, don't put cumin in. Cilantro tastes like soap. Don't use cilantro. Use parsley, mint, or fresh basil. So those are things that you'll kind of learn as you go. Are any questions yet, you guys? Or are we just warming up? A lot of hello.
A lot of hellos from Sandusky, Saginaw. Can you fix the weather in Cleveland? First question that came in.
That I cannot fix with food. I'm driving home Saturday, so to spend some time with family and such. But I think the big storm will have passed. So we're doing this again tomorrow here. I'm in Long Island right now in New York, close to the grand babies, and we're heading to Cleveland on Saturday. But I think the weather will be okay then. So first things first, before I start cutting whatever, we're gonna cook something in a Dutch oven. Just have a nice Dutch oven here. This is, I think, a 8-quart-ish, I believe. Hi, Norm. What's going on, buddy? You like Dutch ovens? You sit? How you doing? Can you get down? You stay.
He's a good boy.
You stay.
Such a good boy.
Look at him, so patient.
Here you go, gentle. That's a good boy. Here you go, gentle. I'm gonna give you a bully sticks. Cruise around.
The real star.
Lots of people happy to see Norman.
Oh,
Norman is the most perfect angel. I
come on. Okay. You come on. Take it. All right. See you, buddy.
Oh, bye, Normie. We'll see you later.
He's like, he doesn't know where to go. He's gonna go lay in the room with Lizzie. So the first thing we do before we start cooking, cutting, chopping, all that stuff, is I like to turn my pans on like a medium-low heat here, so the pan is getting hot as I'm getting everything ready. One of the big mistakes that home cooks make is they get everything ready, they pour the fat in the pan, they turn the pan on, and then throw everything in. And that's when things stick and don't caramelize and none of the magic happens. So you get the pan hot. When the pan is hot, you add your fat. When the fat gets hot, you add whatever you're cooking. That's with vegetables, protein, steaks, doesn't matter what you're cooking. Always that method. Get the pan hot, add your fat, add whatever you're cooking. Pan hot, fat hot, cook. All right?
We have a question about someone with a nut allergy. They didn't see any nut substitutions in the book. Can you recommend any?
Just omit the nuts. You know, if like, look, there's some things that I don't feel that there's true replacements for. Like a nut is a nut. The nut has flavor. You know, if you're allergic to nuts, you can't have nuts. So just eliminate the nuts, and the dish is still going to be delicious. It's just, you know, you could sometimes you could put in things like a lot of times, like in this soup, we're adding some cashews to the soup before we puree it because it adds a little bit of fat, which adds a little bit of flavor. You could put in a little bit of coconut milk or a little bit of oat milk, which has a little bit of creaminess to it, which could add a touch of fat. Like that would help. But sometimes there's not a substitution. It's just an omission. All right. Now with this soup, this is a pureed soup. So I'm not too concerned about, I want everything to be as even as possible, but you don't have to make these pristine cuts in this situation because it's all going to get pureed till smooth. So we have, this is like a creamy cauliflower soup, but it doesn't have cream. I have a little bit of jalapeno in mine. We're garnishing it with some cremini mushrooms and a little bit of kale. You know, if you don't like kale, you could use spinach or another dark leafy green. If you don't like mushrooms, don't put the mushrooms in. I like it spicy. I'm going to throw in a jalapeno. We're just going to slice it up. I'm going to leave in the ribs and the seeds because I want the heat. So we have jalapeno, scallion, this white stuff, cauliflower, a lot of people like to call it, and the cashews. That's kind of the base of the soup. The garlic, we have fresh garlic here. Don't buy pre-peeled, pre-sliced, pre-whatever garlic. Stuff's nasty, doesn't taste like garlic. They add a lot of, not add, but to peel the garlic, they put it in bleach water. They do all this weird thing. It gets very hot, makes the garlic bitter. It's just never as good. Buy a head of garlic, keep it in a cool, dark place. Use it as you need it. If you have too much garlic, you could peel it, slice it yourself. You could either roast it or you could put it in extra virgin olive oil and stick it in your fridge and it'll hold. But you don't have to worry about all the stuff going through the process. So with this, I'm just gonna give it a whack and peel it. And again, I don't have to worry about slicing or chopping this up because it's getting pureed. We're just gonna add a little color to it. All right, any questions?
Not really questions. A lot of people are just talking about Norman.
Norman's a star.
Yeah.
All right, so this was over medium or low heat to kind of warm up. Now I'm going medium high. I'm gonna add a little bit of fat to the pan. Pick a fat, you know, I'm using olive oil. You could use avocado oil. You could use grapeseed oil. You just don't use an hydrogenated oil. Don't use butter because the reset is all about pulling everything out and then finding what your triggers are. So basically you're on almost a vegan vegetarian diet for the first 10 days. Don't panic. Hopefully meat won't be your trigger. If you are a carnivore like myself, you could introduce meat back in and you'll be fine. Some people meat is a trigger though. And then, you know, you gotta pick a battle. Like, do I need meat this much? Or do I, you know, what would I rather have, some pain or meat? Like, that's the choice people are gonna have to make personally. So we added the fat. The fat is getting hot. To the hot fat, I'm gonna add my cauliflower and we're just gonna get a little bit of color and caramelization on that.
We have a few questions. Can you freeze garlic and can you freeze these leftovers?
So the soup, you can make a big batch of the soup if you want. It will freeze beautifully. No worries there. Garlic, you know, garlic to me isn't great frozen. I would rather see you either roast it ahead of time and then hold it. It freezes well after it's roasted into a paste. If it's raw garlic, I would recommend chopping it up, slicing, whatever you need to do, packing extra virgin olive oil, keep it in your fridge. At the end of the day, guys, I know there's a lot of things, people have time issues and time constraints and things of that nature. Like, if you want to make a larger batch of the soup and freeze some of the soup and then thaw it as you need it, that's great. But what I would love to see everybody do is, like, cook what you need and then move forward to the next day. Sometimes there's leftovers, sometimes you gotta freeze things, but you know, if we can eat it fresh, it's just going to be a little bit more delicious as a general rule. Sorry, there's going to be a little noise here. I know everybody, when I look at all my Facebook and Instagram tonight, and I try to answer as many comments, everybody's going to be, it was popping, I can't hear you. There's no volume, I can't hear you. So we're in the kitchen on 2 iPhones doing our best. That's all we could do.
Can you use purple cauliflower in this recipe?
You could use any color cauliflower you want. Purple's just an heirloom variety, equally delicious, even probably a little bit more delicious. So now the cauliflower's going. You guys can come over here. Come on over here. Cauliflower's going. It's going to get a little noisy at home, guys. So you can see there's some color happening on the cauliflower, a little caramelization. I'm going to add my jalapenos and those garlic cloves. I'm going to add my green onions, or as we like to call them in Cleveland, scallions, to the pot. And then we are going to put in a pinch of salt, kosher, cracked black pepper, and we're just going to let this continue to go for about 2 minutes. Then I'm going to add the water, let this simmer till it's tender, and we're good. So,
And this is the olive oil you used, right? Some
that's the
people
one
were
I'm
asking.
using today, yeah.
Okay.
So we can get a cook. So I'm also putting in the cashews, and we're going to let those get a little bit of goodness on them too. So here, we'll get a close-up of this real quick. A lot of people have been asking. This is kind of my favorite olive oil in the world. I use it often to finish. It's the one we use in our restaurants. It's a little bit more expensive. It's a pricey olive oil. This is a good brand of olive oil, and they make, you know, extra virgin olive, a cooking one that is an olive oil, but it's, you know, a little less quality but good for cooking. So there's a lot of options with this olive oil also, and I've seen it at just about every grocery store nowadays.
How can you tell if it has gone bad?
It'll taste like crap.
Okay.
So, like, you know, if I go through olive oil quick, so it never goes bad. But if you're, you know, if your olive oil's sitting around for months, it's going to get rancid, and then it's not good for you anymore. It doesn't taste good. There's nothing good about it. So, buy a size bottle that you go through. It's why a lot of people are like, why do you cook an olive oil? Why don't you use grapeseed oil? Why don't you use this oil? I just use olive oil because I go through it, and then I don't have to worry about it. I don't have a million oils in the house. I just use that one, you know? So that's the one that I always cook and go through. I have a little bit of avocado oil in the house that I use sometimes. I also like avocado oil for my cast iron and carbon steel pans to re-season them because it has such a high smoking point. It's great for that. Okay, so we're gonna stir these up. All right, see how we have some good color and caramelization there now? That's where all the flavor is. So we want to get that really nice caramelization on the pan. You guys in there?
Yeah, it's like steaming up the camera a little bit. But
All right.
okay.
So yeah, so we have some good color. Now we can add our liquid. Put the lid on, and we're just going to let that go till it's tender. So now it's quiet too. So I'm sure if people were having hearing issues, we just silenced the issue. Any other questions, guys?
Where's your apron from? Lots of people are loving this apron.
So I get all my aprons. They're all from the same company, and they're the same cut. They're from a company out of New York called Tillit, T-I-L-I-T, or is it 2 L's? 1 L.
1 L.
T-I-L-I-T. They make a lot of chefs use their aprons. I've been using them since they started. Really high quality. Like, these aprons are old, you know, so they hold up really well. And I wear them in the restaurant kitchens, and a bit more pricey, but they're handmade, and they're great. I mean, they wouldn't look so good on me, but they make, what do you call them?
Jumpsuit.
Jumpsuits. Do you imagine me cruising around? Maybe tomorrow I'm gonna bust out a jumpsuit. I don't have a jumpsuit. But they make jumpsuits for chefs also, and they make pants and chef coats and all kinds of stuff, but really beautiful stuff, really well made.
Can someone use, if they don't have cashews, can they use walnuts instead?
Any nut.
Okay.
Pick a nut. Yeah, you guys don't get bought, like sometimes people don't do a recipe because they think they don't have something. That's what the book will help you with that, because it gives you the substitutions in the book. So that will help a lot. So if you don't have something and you have something very similar, like a nut to nut, you're going to be okay. It's just going to obviously. So if you love walnuts, you're fine. And walnuts have fat because nuts have fat. It also has protein. So that is a very equal substitution.
Do you know if BJ's or Costco carry your book?
No idea. I should know this, but I don't.
Okay.
I know that Target does, Amazon does, a lot of small local bookstores do, Barnes and Nobles does. Costco has traditionally carried my books, so I would say yes, but I haven't been there recently. The Costco is about 40 miles from us here, so I haven't Costco'd. So as this is simmering, I'm going to make, and a lot of people have been asking about this, we call it faux Parmesan. It's obviously not cheese. This is something that I learned, and Liz used to make a lot. Liz was a vegetarian for about 25 years, so, and a vegan for a chunk of that. And when she was a vegan, the cheese was like, she's like, I can't not have cheese, I'm losing my mind. And she saw this recipe somewhere and made it for home, and we always had it in the fridge, and it has that kind of salty umami type of flavor that you get from Parmesan. It's like, if you love Parmigiano Reggiano, you're not going to eat this and go, oh my God, it's Parmigiano Reggiano. But if you're trying to omit dairy from your diet, this is a really great option. Also for people that say like they're worried about sodium intake, lower sodium, nutritional yeast. I know the other day someone asked this and I said, citrus is great. There's a lot of things that bring out full flavors of food. Nutritional yeast actually does the same thing. It has a little bit of natural occurring sodium in it. I mean, for a quarter cup serving, it has 25 milligrams of sodium, which is very, very little. Quarter cup is a lot. But it gives you a little bit of like that, I keep saying the word umami, even though I hate when people use it on television, but umami is like the fifth flavor. So it's like that like kind of explosiveness that you get in the palate, the opening of the palate. It brings out the deliciousness in food like sodium does. Soy is considered umami, tomato products umami, Parmigiano Reggiano. And I feel that the nutritional yeast has a little bit of that same effect. Nutritional yeast are very available now at every grocery store, typically near the spices or baking ingredients.
I really like to put it on pizza.
I put it on popcorn every time.
Yeah.
There you go. Popcorn, pizza, doing it. All right, so to make this into like the faux Parmesan or flavored nutritional yeast, we have a cup of cashews. We have a quarter cup of the nutritional yeast. We put in a little pinch of salt. Obviously, this part you could omit if you're trying to cut back on sodium, but a little pinch of salt. And I put in a touch of garlic powder. I don't know, makes me feel a little bit sassy. So just a little bit of garlic powder.
Oh, we have a good question.
Sure.
Sorry. Someone wants to know if they can use the mushroom broth from yesterday
Instead of water.
Yeah, instead of the
I
water.
was actually going to bring that up. That is a great question, Alexa, or whoever asked that question.
Yeah, I can't take credit for that.
If you have leftover mushroom stock yesterday, which you do because it was a batch recipe, you could definitely use that in the soup. It'll add delicious flavor. I'm just going to puree this till it is smooth like a grated cheese. A little bit longer.
It's powerful.
It is. So, it's funny, being a chef, most of my kitchen toys are big because I like just use things that I use in the restaurant at home. But this is this little Black & Decker blender or food processor. Obviously, you can't do big batches in it, but it's like small and mighty. We've had this thing, Katie, we've had it for a while now, a couple of years, isn't it? We beat it up a touch, especially Katie. She's not easy on the equipment. She ripped the handle off my door yesterday.
Hanging on by a thread.
Her and Kyle, I'm like my two children. It's like Katie came in, it fell off. She put it back on.
Didn't say a word.
Didn't say a word. And then Kyle came walking in like 10 minutes later. I broke the door. And Katie's like,
He's like, I did it first.
Oh boy. All right.
It's fixed today, though.
It is.
I noticed that.
It is.
I was afraid to open
We
the
didn't
door.
fix it with food, but we fixed it. All right, so this is now really tender. I'm going to add a touch more liquid to this because you can see that the liquid has really started to reduce. So I'm just going to add a little stick it on the back of the fridge. I'm just going to add a little bit more liquid. And you could also, once you puree this, if the soup isn't the consistency that you want it, you could add liquid at that point also.
And what are we making?
We are making a cauliflower soup with kale and mushrooms. What happened here is I doubled the recipe of cauliflower and everything, but I didn't double the recipe of liquid. That's where the problem lies. So that's why I'm going to add a little more liquid as this kind of simmers away.
We're getting questions. What stove is this?
This is Blue Star. You know, I've had Blue Star in my kitchen for, gosh, probably close to 20 years now. It's always kind of been my oven of choice. And I got a lot of other chefs on it too. Flay has switched everything to Blue Star in his house too. True story. They're just, it performs the closest to a restaurant range that I've ever had. And really for me, the bigger thing is, and this is because I'm so used to cooking in a restaurant, most residential ranges cannot fit a restaurant sheet tray in them. And the way that they insulated the Blue Star, that it could still fit a full restaurant sheet tray, which most don't. And I have a lot of sheet trays at home, again, from the restaurant thing. So if that's something important to you, it's great. And they're powerful. Any other questions?
I actually have a few people asking what your favorite dessert is. They know it's random. They just want to know.
People want to know. Of course. Okay. Is your mom on there?
That seems like
Carolyn?
something random she would ask.
My favorite dessert. I don't have a giant sweet tooth, admittedly, but I do love chocolate. So I would say anything with chocolate. My favorite sweet, some people would say it's a dessert. Here comes Homer. My favorite sweet, some people would say it's a dessert. Thinking about dessert, buddy. Some people wouldn't claim it. Is chocolate chip cookies. I love chocolate chip cookies. Like I could eat. Like Katie is a big baker, and when she's testing recipes or just making cookies, she'll come over here and she will leave like a tray of cookies. And if there's 30 cookies, I will eat 30 cookies. If there's 2, I'll eat 2. That's why I just can't have them around me. When I was a kid, my mom bought Chips Ahoy. I'd eat the whole bag in one sitting. And now Tate's is my kind of the cookie that gets me in trouble. The Tate's cookie. So I would say chocolate chip cookies, or I love a creme brulee, but dairy and sugar is really bad for me. So creme brulee, really bad for me. Or something like a really deep chocolate cake. My birthday cake every year, though, is lemon coconut cake, which has been my birthday cake since I've been a kid, so I like that too. I guess I don't have a favorite, is the answer. But those are some of my favorites.
That's a good top 3.
Those are some of my favorites.
Do you have a favorite Polish food?
Pierogi. Pierogi. I love pierogi. I mean, my mother's Greek and Sicilian. My dad's side of the family was Eastern European. So, we used to have a lot of pierogi, a lot of halushki, a lot of, all the cabbages were represented, borscht, all those great things were always around in my house.
Bobby Flay said straighten out your apron.
Did he really?
He did.
Flay, what are you bored? I feel that it's straight, but come on, B, I think it's straight.
All right. Is that looking okay?
All right. Hey, souffle, how does it look?
He
You say it okay. All right.
you're good.
I'll see you on Monday, Bobby. So I'm just going to slice up these creminis. And this is important. When you're cooking mushrooms, I feel mushrooms, a lot of people don't think they like mushrooms because they had mushrooms when they were younger, and they were those canned slimy pizza mushrooms. The texture was really bad. So I like to get the mushrooms crispy. So if you want the mushrooms crispy, like the pan is hot here. You can't crowd your pan. So if I throw tons of mushrooms in here, they're gonna leach all their liquid and they're gonna steam. They're not gonna get crispy. So I get the pan hot and then I add a little bit of fat. I'm gonna go my olive oil. And this is one of the very few things that you cook without salting till the end. Almost everything you see me cook, I'll say put a pinch of salt, pull out the flavors. But if we salt these mushrooms in the beginning, they're gonna release liquid and then they're not gonna get as crunchy. So we're not gonna crowd them, we're gonna give them a good amount of space in the pan, and then we are just gonna cook them until they have a little bit of texture, and when they come out, we will season them up. I'm using creminis, any mushroom will do here. Button, shiitake, any wild mushroom, whatever you're kind of in the mood for. So, we gotta get my heat going up a little bit. And then we're just gonna, all right, oil's moving, so we're at a good temp. And we're gonna put these in, and like in the restaurant, the cooks, I don't know, Katie could probably answer me on this a little bit. This was one of my pet peeves in the restaurant, was not crowding the pans when you're cooking mushrooms. And one of our kind of signature, one of my most famous dishes was our beef cheek pierogi, and we would garnish it with crispy mushrooms. So, you know, before the shift, when they had to do the first cook of all the mushrooms, they'd have tons of pans, so they were doing tons of mushrooms, and you do them in batches. And if I would come in and I'd see like a pan just stuffed, I'd lose my mind. So like, two biggest chef pet peeves for me: crowding the mushroom pan and buying peeled garlic. Those are like two like food crimes that I feel anybody could you know, not have. So as those are going, I have some kale here. We're gonna also garnish with this. I'm gonna put a little chop on the kale, and these will cook in that same pan when the mushrooms are done. Again, I know it's getting kind of noisy, guys. I apologize. Any questions?
What's your go-to breakfast?
Omelet or any egg. I love eggs. I love, like, I think, like if I'm thinking of foods that I couldn't live without, eggs would probably be the food I couldn't live without. I eat eggs for breakfast a lot. You know, eggs are used in so many other dishes with cooking. You know, I just love eggs. And I have them different every day. Like, you know, some days I do like a nice soft scramble, some days I do the crispy fried, sometimes I make an omelet, sometimes I poach, sometimes I bake. You know, I just love them in all styles, every style.
Do you have to massage the kale if you're cooking it?
If you're cooking it, you do not. You don't have to massage the kale. Good question though. If you're having kale in a salad and it's raw, you should massage it, or else it's very fibrous and like no fun to eat. And that's probably why some people are adverse to kale, because they got a kale salad from a restaurant that didn't massage it. So it's like you feel like a horse at that point, like you're out grazing. It's like impossible to get it all down.
Do you have to put like olive oil or anything on it to massage it, or can you just?
You can do a pinch of salt and just massage it. So, I don't want these to pop in. All right, but see how we got some really good color there?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get these all flipped, but that color is the crispiness, and that's what we want, and it's so we don't have those slimy mushrooms that no one likes. So now that we have these crispy, I could add the kale, and that's gonna pop. Whenever you're adding a green to a pan, there's a lot of water in a green, it's gonna pop. So throw it in, step away. Now we can put in our pinch of salt. And we have those beautiful, you can see the beautiful crispy mushrooms in there with the kale as it breaks down. Set this off to the side, just let it go. We're gonna get our soup pureed. Oh, clean kitchen is a happy kitchen.
Do you take the mushroom stems off when you cook with the mushrooms?
These creminis didn't have any like deep stems. If they have a lot of stems, I'll take them off, freeze the stems, and then you could use the stems for stock later. So don't throw out the stems. All right, we're gonna take our liquid first. cauliflower in here. And I'm just gonna puree this all until it is nice and smooth. So remember, we sauteed in the pan the cauliflower. I liked it spicy, so I added a jalapeno, scallion, garlic, and the cashews, or any nut of your choice. And then we added a little bit of salt to that, cooked it with the water till it was tender after we browned it in the olive oil. Now it's ready to puree. Depending on how we feel about the consistency, we could always add a little bit of liquid to our blender to get it to where we wanted it to be. If you have a Vita Prep, always start on low and build up because they are very, very powerful. Squeeze of lemon juice to finish.
Could you use an immersion blender for this?
Yeah, I mean, it won't get it as smooth, but definitely definitely an option. An immersion blender is an option for sure. If you don't want to dirty a blender, it just won't get quite as smooth.
Can you sub broccoli for cauliflower?
You can. Any cruciferous vegetable will do. Pick a cruciferous, any cruciferous. All right, juice our lemon. Just to give it a little bit of acidity. Maybe seedless lemons. You know, Katie, there's no limes, no seeds in limes.
I know.
Never?
No.
No.
Then how do they grow the trees?
These are things that you need to ask Alexa. The world needs
That's
to
a
know.
really good question.
Yeah, like if they came up with seedless lemons, will we no longer have lemon trees? Who knows? All right, I'm gonna finish this off. And then again, this is just a call that you have to make. How thick do you want it? It's relatively thick right now. I don't think it's too thick for me. It's a little chilly outside, so I'm gonna be fine with this. And I'm also gonna finish it with some olive oil. So we're gonna take that soup. It could be a little thinner.
What are other examples of cruciferous vegetables?
Google. Cauliflower, broccoli, kale. There's a ton of them. Just Google it up. Cruciferous vegetables. They're very good for you. A little bit of extra olive oil. Yeah, I should have made it a touch there. I'll thin it out once we're done. And I'm gonna put some cracked black pepper on top. Let's see how we did.
Your faux pun.
Oh, Katie.
If preferred.
No, I forgot.
Optional.
We shows you how to make the faux parm and the faux parm. Holy Toledo. Faux parm, actually, you can make a bunch of it. It holds in your fridge for months. So you can make a big batch and hold it in your fridge. Put a little more liquid in this guy. And again, you could use the mushroom stock or vegetable stock to do that and just get it to the consistency I want. It's a little thick for me. It's still absolutely delicious. Basically, I was talking too much and let it reduce too far. That's the moral of the story. But you could fix it with a stock or water or a liquid. There's tons of flavor in here. So a stock would be delicious, but not needed. All right, any more questions?
How do you clean your cutting board?
Hot soapy water, dry it off. You dry it off standing up, oil it once a week. You could also clean it with lemon and salt, but I typically just do hot soapy water.
Okay. What kind of oil? Any oil?
They make oil for cutting boards.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want an oil. Motor oil would be bad, but like they make oils for cutting boards that you could use for food safe oils.
Okay.
Hey, buddy.
Norman, anything to add?
You have anything to add, pup? You want to say bye? Say bye to everybody. All right, everybody. Norman's gonna get back to his bully. I'm gonna finish my soup. I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we're doing salmon, Katie, I
Yes.
think. We're doing a salmon entree, so tune in. And remember, fix it with food, every meal, easy. He's a lap dog. One more recipe out of it tomorrow, and I will continue to be answering questions on Facebook and on Instagram if you have any this evening. Have a great night, everybody. Live la vie.
We're gonna get one more shot of Norman.
Bye, Bubba.
Sweet boy.
Goodbye.
There it goes. Bye, everyone.